awake here? Why it is called awake intubation? Why it is important? Okay, I think everyone has to mute themselves. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Um,
yes, Ajay, we can hear you.
okay. So actually, what I was telling, this is a very important topic for exam because most of you will get a case of difficult airway, and you will be asked questions about how do you prepare and what is the technique for awake intubation. And we are putting emphasis on awake intubation. We will be dealing with that term later on. So what we will be putting stress, why awake, and what are the indications? What are the indications for awake intubation? And how do we know that we are going to do awake intubation in a patient? How do we plan it basically? And how do we make assessment of the patient that patient may require awake intubation? So, what are the indications and what are the contraindications for awake intubation? And we will be putting stress on how to prepare the patient for awake intubation. What are the drugs used? What are the pre-medication? What is airway anesthesia? What are the blocks, different blocks used here? And what is the psychological counseling of the patient? So patient preparation will be one part, and another part equipment preparation. So equipment preparation is equally important as patient preparation. And what are the different kinds of equipments we will be using for awake fiber optic intubation, and what are the problems encountered during this technique, and how to overcome those problems? We'll be discussing that troubleshooting part also. So I most of you must have seen the technique of awake intubation, and I want to make this session more interactive because now this is the first time I am also taking a class from Microsoft Teams, so this is a first time experience for me, and I want you to understand, and if you don't understand, you can ask questions, and we'll try to make it as simple as possible. And I think Ankush, now we can continue.
Okay, sir.
Okay, chalo, start.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Ankush Garg, and I will be presenting the topic of airway preparation and the technique of awake intubation under the guidance of Dr. Ajay Kumar. We will be discussing mainly about the patient preparation and the equipment preparation, which is the flexible scope intubation. This is the most common device that is used for indirect laryngoscopy for endotracheal intubation. It was first performed in the 1967 using a surgical cholecystoscope and is now the gold standard method in predicted or known difficult airway intubations.
Okay, I will interrupt here. Arushi, are you there? Hello?
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Arushi, are you there? Actually, just
Yes,
want
sir.
to ask you one thing. So,
Yes,
can you,
sir.
that Ankush has told me that we are using this fiber optic bronchoscope. So, how do we know that why we have to go for awake intubation? He has told in case of difficulty in airway. So, what are common scenarios where you will think about awake intubations? Can you just name few?
Sir, in case of an anticipated difficult airway, and in case of any airway surgery, or in case of any known pathology of the airway, like
Okay,
if
right.
there's any tumor or any, and
Okay,
and
tumor
in
in
case
the
of any, if nasal intubation is required in any for any procedure.
okay. See, Arushi, see what we are putting this emphasis on awake, because see, on when you take a patient for surgery, we do history and physical examination first. Okay, so during history and physical examination, if you find any feature of difficult mass ventilation, difficult direct laryngoscopy, or difficult intubation, so all these things, if you find any features of these things, so the first thing should come to your mind that we may offer awake intubation technique. So, Avinash, are you there? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Avinash, can you tell me few instances of in which you suspect difficult tracheal intubation? Anything on history? Suppose the patient give history of rheumatoid arthritis, or patient give history of ankylosing spondylitis. So, can you suspect that we may encounter difficult intubation?
Yes, sir. So in RT patients, we can suspect that we'll have difficult intubation. Like we'll require when we require the neck to be stable, and we don't want any
Right.
if there's any cervical injury, sir.
Yeah, very good. Okay. And any other things like Arun told, yeah, there can be
Secretions of
some.
blood in the tract, airway tract.
Very good. And there can be some tumor in the vicinity of the airway, or if there's some trauma, like you told, yeah, trauma to the cervical spine. Okay, and if there is history in the of surgery in the vicinity of the airway. Okay, other things like if the patient is obese and the patient is having any history of, suppose they give dental abscess or croup or Ludwig angina. So see all these conditions, and if there is a history of previous radiotherapy, okay, and there is a history of facial trauma, or you can see a big thyroid swellings, and like a case of TM ankylosis. So there is long list basically. In all these cases, you can think of this technique of awake intubation. Okay,
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
clear?
Okay, sir.
चलो ठीक है. So now we know what are the indication, and in this diagram, see, can you see this diagram in this diagram? Can you see a lot of haphazardness is there? So this diagram is basically depicting that we have to be adequately prepared for awake intubation technique. Preparedness in terms of patient preparation and preparedness in terms of equipment preparation. Because if you are prepared adequately, the half of the battle is already won. And in this diagram, you can see if you are not prepared, you may lose the patient and things may go wrong. Okay, so preparedness is very, very important in case of awake fiber optic intubation. Okay, Ankush, you can go ahead now.
Okay, sir. So the indications are when we need to use a fiber optic bronchoscope for intubation is when we have a limited mouth opening. This can be in cases of temporomandibular joint ankylosis, or there may be a history of radiotherapy followed by submucosal fibrosis, or in cases of where earlier difficult airway was seen in a patient, or in a burns patient who has contractures, or if there is a surgery of the airway, or a trauma or a tumor. Also, it has been seen that in cases of difficult mask intubation, it's more likely to end up in a difficult airway. So we need to remember the mnemonic of bones, which is the patient with a beard, or an obese patient, a dentulous patient, elderly patient, or a snorer. We need to be careful in these patients.
It is known also the bones. Difficult mass with the predictors of difficult mass ventilation. Okay.
Apart from that, when there is an unstable cervical spine, and there should be minimal movement of the spine during airway management, we prefer a bronchoscopic intubation. And it can also be used for rescue intubations when the patient is prone or in a lateral position. Now we come to the contraindications. The absolute contraindication is the patient's refusal. Apart from those, we have some relative contraindications like blood or secretions in the airway, which may lead to difficulty in visualization of the structures. Because we need to observe the passage of endotracheal tube through the vocal cords. Since the ETT, the endotracheal tube is passed blindly over the fiber optic endoscope. In these cases of vocal cord trauma, we cannot use a bronchoscopic intubation. And if we need to rapidly control the airway, then also we have a relative contraindication. And if the patient is uncooperative, we cannot use a fiber optic intubation.
Yeah. So basically, if fiber optic bronchoscopy is not a technique of choice in case of emergency. Okay, because preparation is required. Second thing, if there is bleeding, there are secretions, you won't be able to see anything. So that is also a relative contraindication. And of course, expertise is foremost. You should have clinical expertise. Otherwise, you will not be able to use it. You should have enough experience. Then only you should opt for awake fiber optic intubation. Okay.
The fiber optic intubation is more difficult to perform under general anesthesia than in the awake state. This is
Ankush,
yes, sir.
slide नहीं है. Yeah.
So there are certain advantages.
Yeah,
awake
it
intubation.
was visible here. Previously, it was better visible. Slide.
Multiple slides are coming.
Multiple slides.
Yeah,
Yeah, now it is better.
Fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we perform an awake intubation. The fiber optic intubation is more difficult to be performed under general anesthesia than in the awake patient. There are certain advantages that we have in an awake patient, such as there is no tongue fall and there is decreased chances of aspiration. The patient is cooperative in an awake state, and we can monitor the neurological status of the patient as well. Apart from that, the patient has a spontaneous respiration control, and there is presence of pharyngeal muscle tone, which is beneficial during fiber optic visualization. We can perform fiber optic intubation by oral route or through nasal route. The nasal route is preferred when there is severely limited mouth opening, a very strong gag reflex, and a nasotracheal intubation is necessary for surgical procedures. For example, if there is a tumor of the oral cavity, tumor of the tongue or the buccal mucosa, then a nasotracheal intubation is. But there are certain risks associated with nasal intubation, such as epistaxis, trauma to the turbinates, or there may be a submucosal tunneling in the nasopharynx.
Yeah.
These can be. Yes, sir.
Avinash, are you there? Avinash?
Yes.
Avinash, just now we have discussed that what are the advantages of patient being awake during intubation in a case of difficult airway? Can you just give a few? What are the advantages? Did you get my question? Hello?
Hello. So can you please
Avinash?
repeat the question?
My question is that what are the advantage of being patient awake during a case of difficult intubation? Why do you want to keep the patient awake? What are the advantages?
So we can connect to the patient. We can
Yeah. See, the most important thing is patient is spontaneously breathing. We have the control over the respiration. This patient is patient is breathing spontaneously breathing. Then there is no loss of pharyngeal muscle tone. There is no collapse. Okay, so the airway is patent when patient is awake. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And patient is spontaneously breathing, and moreover there is less risk of aspirations because airway reflexes are protected.
Okay, sir.
And you can monitor the neurological status of the patient in case of there is overdose of local toxicity. So you can monitor the neurological status of the patient. Patient is having tingling or numbness, or patient is having drowsiness, or patient are throwing seizures, anything, because that things are lost under the effect of general anesthesia. So these are the advantage of patient being awake. And the most important thing during awake intubation is you need the patient to be cooperative. So awake patient only can be cooperative, not a drowsy patient. Okay. So patient is
yes, sir.
Okay. These are the advantages of awake intubation. Okay.
Intubation. Okay, sir.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
So that is why I just want to add one point. That is why in children it is difficult to go for awake intubation because we can't have their cooperation. And the
Yeah.
second is patients with mental illness who are unable to cooperate. Those patients also are, who can't go for awake intubation.
Yeah, actually, I want to share because I was working in dental college, ESIC Medical Rohini. There we used to get small cases of TMJ and tankylosis. So we didn't have any option. So it is a difficult airway. That's the one thing. The second thing, we cannot offer awake intubation. So we have to go for general anesthesia. So it's a very tricky situation, and you have to be well prepared for it. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. The risk of nasal intubations can be avoided by adequate patient preparation. So the patient preparation consists mainly of three categories. That is the psychological preparation, the use of drugs, and the airway preparation. The psychological preparation is includes explaining the procedure to the patient beforehand and taking a consent for tracheostomy and keeping an ENT specialist on standby.
Yeah.
Using drugs such as anti-sialagogues will be beneficial as the airway will become dry and easily visualization will be possible. So we give 0.2 mg of glycopyrrolate IV before 15 minutes prior to the fiber optic intubation.
Okay, I would like to add. First of all, in psychological preparation, basically it is important because you need to explain each and every step what you're going to do during awake intubation, what blocks are there, what is gargling, and what are the nasal pleasures. So everything you have to explain to the patient because patient cooperation is mandatory. If the patient will cooperate, then only you can go for aortic intubation. Then you need to tell the patient that most likely why it is important. What are the problems for general anesthesia and why do you want to go for awake intubation? Then you have to explain to the patient there may be a chance that in the post-op period the patient may find hole in the anterior aspect of the neck, that is tracheostomy, because if we are not able to secure the airway or we are not able to secure the airway with fiber optic bronchoscope also, so we are keeping a ENT specialist on standby for tracheostomy purpose. So you have to take a consent for tracheostomy also in pre-op period only. So that's why patient psychological counseling is very important for patient to be cooperative during the procedure also. And for pre-medication with anti-CRGO, we can give glycopyrrolate 0.2 milligram 15 minutes before giving blocks or nebulization. But some people say you can give intramuscular glycopyrrolate also, that is 4 microgram per kg of dose, 145 minutes to 1 hour before giving blocks or a nebulization. So people say that works in a better way than IV glycopyrrolate. And the disadvantage of IV glycopyrrolate, when you give IV, it may cause some tachycardia in the patient. Okay. ठीक है अंकुश आगे.
Okay, sir.
I also want to add one point. Ankush, I also want to make a point here that in addition, like we are saying, like we call for ENT specialists, nowadays it is also recommended that you mark the site for emergency front of neck airway.
Okay.
Right? So you
Yes.
mark the cricothyroid membrane and site for cricothyroidotomy if you find that it's a difficult airway and you may have to go for FONA, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, we can continue.
Amir, are you there? Hello?
Hello.
Amir Khan, are you there? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, Amir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Amir,
Hello.
what are the advantages of giving anti-CLGO like glycopyrrolate?
Sir, basically we give anti-sialagogues for reduction of the secretions. Like while we are
Okay.
doing uh, fiber optic intubation. So to reduce the airway secretions, we basically give antiphalagogue. Uh,
Okay. Any other? See, basically there are three advantages. One, you have told. Okay. Second advantage is basically it dries the mucosa, so there is good contact between the local anesthetic and the mucosa. Okay. When secretions are not, so there will be good contact between the LA and the mucosa. So the onset of local anesthetic will be faster. Okay. And third thing is that when secretions are less, so there is less of chance of aspiration and coughing and all. Okay. So all these things apart from a clear vision. Okay. So these three advantages. Okay. हाँ कुछ चलो आगे.
Okay. So aspiration prophylaxis has to be done for high-risk patients. Patients which have had recent food ingestions or patients which are at high risk of aspiration need to be given an H2 receptor antagonist and metoclopramide 10 mg over 1 to 2 minutes. Patient position is very important for high risk aspiration. To prevent high risk aspiration, patient has to be placed
Okay.
in the position for induction and intubation. The conditions, the high risk patients are generally the full stomach patients who are
Okay.
non-fasted and emergency surgery
अंकुश
patients.
आवाज नहीं आ रहा.
We can hear him.
Yeah.
Okay. Obstetric patients after 12 to 20 weeks of gestation. Symptomatic patients of gastroesophageal reflux. Diabetic patients, hiatal hernia patients, and the patients with gastric outlet obstructions. These are at increased risk of aspiration.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Ajay, check your connection. We are able to
Ankush,
hear him
bolo.
clearly. Continue, Ankush.
Okay. Then lastly, we need to prepare the airway. Now, in airway preparation, we can compromise the protective reflexes. So we need to avoid the laryngeal and subglottic anesthesia until immediately prior to the intubation. We can do this. We can prepare the airway by a topical preparation, topical route or a nerve block route. So for that, we need to know the innervation of the upper airway. Okay.
Ankush,
The upper
your
airway
voice
is
is
mainly innervated.
breaking.
Yes, sir. Sir, I can
Hello.
hear you.
Ajay, his voice
Ankush,
is
can you
clear
hear
to
me?
me.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
His voice
Hello.
is clear, Ajay. Just check your connection.
अंकुश आवाज आ रही है? अच्छा ठीक.
Yeah, we can hear him.
Okay. So the
Ankush, you
innervation
can
of the upper
continue.
airway
Okay. I was not
Yeah.
able
is
to.
mainly
Yes.
the innervation of the upper airway is mainly by the trigeminal nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, and the vagus. The nose is supplied by the trigeminal nerve, by its branches, the ophthalmic and the maxillary, which in turn give out the anterior ethmoidal and the greater and lesser palatine nerves. The pharynx is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the oropharyngeal has branches from vagus, trigeminal, and glossopharyngeal in the form of tonsillar nerve by glossopharyngeal, pharyngeal nerve by vagus, and lingual by the trigeminal nerve. And the larynx is supplied by vagus. Above the vocal cord, internal branch of the superior laryngeal nerve is the main sensory supply, and below the vocal cord, recurrent laryngeal nerve is the main sensory supply. Topical anesthesia can be given by the following techniques. The Mackenzie technique uses a 20 gauge cannula with the oxygen bubbling tube and a 5 ml syringe of local anesthetic, which you can see in the right side of the screen. Other than that, we can nebulize the patient for 30 minutes by 5 ml of 4% lignocaine. We have topical sprays of local anesthesia, and we have lignocaine lollipop which is not used nowadays. Nebulization technique is the most preferred and the most effective technique. Apart from that, we have a spray as you go technique, which will be discussed later. Now coming to the special types of blocks. The first one is the
What about
transtracheal injection.
atomizer? Ankush, there is atomizer is also available.
Yes, ma'am. Atomizer.
Atomizer is also available, and it is, I think, available in our hospital also. Rather, I don't think lignocaine lollipop is available in India, but atomizer is very much available, and it is quite useful for spraying the local anesthetic.
Okay, ma'am.
Is it available in our OTs, atomizer, MED?
Yes, yes, at few places
Okay,
it is available.
Okay, right.
Now the transtracheal injection approach. For this, we need to know about stabilizing the larynx and the laryngeal handshake. This is done by placing the thumb and the middle finger along the larynx and feeling the trachea from the chin below, identifying all the structures one by one. The bony and the cartilaginous larynx can be felt. The thyroid cartilage can be felt, and below, between the thyroid cartilage and the cricoid cartilage, we can feel the cricothyroid ligament. We will identify the midline of the cricothyroid ligament and inject the local anesthesia and raise a wheel under all aseptic precautions. After that, we advance a 20 gauge angiocatheter attached with a saline syringe perpendicular to the skin while aspirating. When we can see air freely being aspirated, we attach the 3 to 5 ml lignocaine syringe, which is of 2 to 4% concentration. We will warn the patient of a vigorous cough and inject the local anesthesia during inspiration. The cough will help us to spread the local anesthesia uniformly in the larynx. Ultrasound can be used for increasing the accuracy of this technique. I have a short clip to show how this technique is done.
You can describe the steps. If there is no voice in the video, you can add your voice.
Okay. After under all aseptic conditions, first an angiocatheter connected to a saline syringe is injected in the cricothyroid midline of the cricothyroid membrane, and when we see air being aspirated freely, we change the syringe and inject the local lignocaine 3 to 5 ml during inspiration. This will lead to a vigorous cough.
And spread of the local anesthetic.
And spread.
So, Ankush, please tell them what is importance in the what kind of airway anesthesia we are getting from this block.
Sir, the recurrent laryngeal nerve is mainly being anesthetized. The all the structures below the vocal cord are being
Right.
anesthetized.
So basically, it is blocking the recurrent laryngeal nerve, which is providing the sensory
Supply below.
Sensory innervation below the level of the vocal cords. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Next comes the glossopharyngeal nerve block. The target is a lingual branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve, which provides anesthesia to posterior third of tongue and blocks the afferent limb of gag reflex. We need a tongue blade or a Macintosh size 3 laryngoscope, a 25 gauge spinal needle attached to a 5 ml syringe containing 1 to 2% lignocaine. The patient's position should be a sitting position, and the anesthetist will be standing facing the patient on the contralateral side of the nerve to be blocked. First, we displace the tongue medially with the non-dominant hand, which will form a gutter along the floor of the mouth. This gutter ends in a cul-de-sac formed by the base of the palatoglossal arch. A
Right.
25 gauge spinal needle.
You can use your pointer also, Ankush, for the explanation. It will be helpful if you can use.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A cul-de-sac will be formed at the base
Hmm.
of the palatoglossal arch and just lateral to the tongue. Using a 25 gauge spinal needle, 2 ml of 1 to 2% lignocaine will be injected on both the sides.
Hmm.
There's a schematic representation and a pictorial representation available on the screen.
Hmm.
Next comes the superior
And
laryngeal nerve.
Ankush, there are other techniques also for this. If you don't want to inject, you can use a 10% lignocaine spray bilaterally,
Yes.
or you can use you can use 4% lignocaine soaked cotton pledgets can be kept for 3 to 4 minutes bilaterally. So that equally works as a glossopharyngeal nerve block. Okay, and it basically to omit the gag reflex and provide anesthesia to the posterior one third of the tongue.
Posterior one third.
Right.
Next comes the superior laryngeal nerve block. This will provide anesthesia of the hypopharynx, upper glottis, and laryngeal surface of the epiglottis. Again, we need a 25 gauge needle attached to a 5 ml syringe containing 1 to 2% lignocaine.
अंकुश
We identify.
हाँ ठीक है राइट राइट ठीक है आगे स्लाइड आ गया ठीक है
Okay. We identify the greater cornua of the hyoid bone. We identify the greater cornua of the hyoid bone and in the anterior inferior direction. When the resistance is, yes sir.
डायग्राम लेके आओ डायग्राम से बताओ ना डायग्राम दिखने का
This one.
हाँ
The
now you can
greater cornua of hyoid bone is this is the greater cornua of the hyoid bone. We insert a 25 gauge needle of the cornua in an anterior inferior direction. The resistance is felt as the needle is advanced through the thyrohyoid membrane. This is the thyrohyoid membrane. 1 to 2 centimeter deep to the skin. Now we aspirate, and if nothing is aspirated, we inject 2 to 3 ml of 1 to 2% lignocaine as the needle is withdrawn. Same is repeated on the opposite side. If air is aspirated, the needle has passed too deep and it should be withdrawn until no air is aspirated.
Adib, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Adib, can you just tell me this superior laryngeal nerve block provides anesthesia to which part of airway?
Sir, the level above the vocal cords.
Till
Till the base of the tongue.
are you sure? Base of the tongue or epiglottis?
Sir, basically the hypopharynx.
Yeah, correct. So that may be the junction of base of tongue and the epiglottis. ठीक है, okay. ठीक है, अंकुश चलो.
Okay. Now we come to the sedation part. Goals of sedation.
So Ankush, what sequence you will do the blocks? What is the sequence of blocks when you want to use local? You go for blocks for a patient for airway preparation. What will be the sequence?
Ma'am, first of all, we will nebulize the patient with lignocaine for 15 to 30 minutes in the pre-op room. After that, when we take the patient into the operation theater, we connect the IV line, the monitors, and then we will.
I'm just asking the sequence of blocks. You were told us 2-3 blocks. In which sequence you will perform the blocks?
Okay, ma'am. First, we will give the glossopharyngeal block, then the superior laryngeal, and then the transtracheal.
Yeah, transtracheal. You have described first of all, but it is to be given at the end. And the reason Dr. Ajay has already given you in the right.
Yes,
But the sequence this in the description is reversed, right?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay.
So the goal of sedation is to have the patient tolerate the procedure and remain cooperative throughout the procedure. The agent should be titrated to maintain adequate respiration and airway reflexes. We prefer medication that can be reversed or that which has a short duration of action. We use minimum sedation for patients in whom there is risk of aspiration or respiratory decompensation. These are the following drugs that can be used. We prefer midazolam, which is easily available in a hospital at a dose of 1 to 2 mg IV, which can be repeated uh, in combination with fentanyl. Now we come to the equipment preparation. The most important equipment.
कुछ और भी drugs के नाम बता दूं, like we can use
Dexmedetomidine.
It can be used in combination of with remifentanil.
Yes, sir.
Then we have
Sir,
okay. So
okay.
and you are supposed to know the table is there. I think you can show them the table of the drugs, no? Table
Yes,
one.
sir.
So in that you can see like midazolam is there, fentanyl. We commonly use combination of midazolam and fentanyl. Midazolam in a dose of 1 milligram and up to 2 milligram, and there's no fixed dosing. We have to titrate to the response. Okay, so it is a very technical issue because you have to just see the patient doesn't become apneic, or the tongue should not fall back. Then the whole purpose of awake intubation is lost. So we have to use the combination, different combinations like midazolam, fentanyl very commonly used. Then we can use remifentanil. You know the advantage of remifentanil. And propofol can be used in conscious sedation dose, that is 25 to 75 mics per kg per minute, and that has to be titrated effect only. And Dexmed is very commonly used, and it can be used in combination of remifentanil also. So these are the various drug combination. You should know what are the doses and what are the disadvantages, what complications and all. You should know about all these drugs. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Now we discussed about the equipment preparation. The most important equipment is the flexible intubating scope. The parts of the endoscopic scope are the eyepiece, which can be
Ankush,
connected. Yes, sir.
slide.
So can you see the slide?
Yeah.
The eyepiece, which can be connected to, which is also a camera head, which can be displayed on a screen, and a cable for a light source. A suction channel is present to aspirate any secretions of blood during the procedure. And also we have an extension flexion control of the working tip. There is a catheter insertion channel through which we insert an epidural catheter during the SAGO procedure. The working tip consists of the working channel from which the epidural catheter will be coming out, the light source, and the camera.
And this working channel is basically, this is a channel from where you can do suction. Okay. You can do oxygen insufflation. You can, use to instill saline during bronchoscopic lavage. So this is all these things you can do, and you can put an epidural catheter for SAGO technique. So this working channel is used for many purposes.
Yes, I have a video to show the working of the laryngoscope, as many of us have not.
Yeah, before that, Hemlata, are you there? Hemlata? Hemlata, are you there? Rajeshwari? Dr. Rajeshwari?
Hello, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Rajeshwari, can you just tell me what is the importance of giving midazolam and fentanyl for awake fiber optic intubation during pre-medication?
The patient will be hemodynamically stable. He will prevent like tachycardia.
So you mean to say to allay the anxiety. Okay.
बोलो अने को मम्मा आ रही है नहीं तो अने को बोलो यहाँ आ जाए.
Yeah, Rajesh, we carry on. So you mean to say anxiolysis. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then what else?
Then
It will also give some kind of amnesia.
yes, sir. Midazolam.
Okay. So basically amnesia and anxiolysis. And what about fentanyl?
Fentanyl.
Will it give some analgesia?
Yes, sir.
Or will it blunt something? Will it blunt some response?
Airway.
I think you need to read that, okay? And tell me the answer.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
carry on. Ankush, chalo.
Okay. Okay, I have a small video to show the working of a fiber optic endoscope. So this is the fiber optic endoscope, which consists of a light source and which makes it portable. And this is the working of the tip of the catheter, which can be manipulated by the plunger at the starting. These are the parts. The suction can be done to suction of the secretions. The working channel can be used for many purposes to supply oxygen and to introduce an epidural catheter for the Sego technique and the focusing ring for a better visualization.
Okay, this is a very delicate equipment. You all must know, and it is very expensive equipment also. So earlier we used to have this bronchoscope known as fiber optic because they have got a fiber optic channel in the insertion cord. Okay, so we can't bend like the person is bending this insertion cord. Yeah, we have to keep it straight like this. Okay, because it may damage the fiber optic bundle and some dots will be visible while using the bronchoscope. So you have to use it very carefully. But nowadays, a good thing is that now we are having bronchoscope which does not have any fibers. They are basically fiberless. And we are having those in our OT also. They are known as FIVT. The full form is flexible intubating video endoscope. So if you don't have that fiber optic cable inside that, so that can be used. They can be bent also. But earlier we had used to take many precautions while using the fiber optic bronchoscope. But nowadays we are using flexible endoscope basically. Okay. Chal.
Okay.
And I just want to say one thing that the movement of the lever that Ankush is showing are very gross. You have to do fine movements, little by little. Maybe he is showing because to describe you how the movement
Yes, ma'am.
occurs when you put it down or up. But when actually you are doing the procedure, the movements have to be really fine, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
So in a single plane, we can use the lever to flex and extend, and we have to rotate the entire bronchoscope to direct it.
Yeah.
And there's a mark at the top of the screen,
Yeah.
the arrow, which will tell us the orientation when we do the laryngoscopy, so that we can keep the structures visible in the midline.
Right. And this
Now
bronchoscope
the fiber optic.
Yeah, Ankush, you have to tell that this
Sir?
is a light source also. Okay, the cord is there, electrical cord which connects the bronchoscope through the light source. So that makes the complete unit.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The cable for the light source.
Yeah.
So we have an adult type and we have different fiber optic endoscopes for the adult and for the children. The adult
Yes.
endoscope is usually 60 centimeters in length with a diameter of 3.8 to 4.2 mm.
Yes.
Adult scope fits through a 5.5 millimeter internal diameter endotracheal tube if adequately lubricated. and has a working channel of 1.2 to 2 millimeter in diameter.
Right.
The pediatric scope have diameter of 2.2 millimeters without a working channel, which can accommodate a 3 millimeter internal diameter endotracheal tube. To 3.1 mm of diameter of the endoscope, which can accommodate a 4 millimeter internal diameter endotracheal tube with a working channel, which is 1.2 millimeters in diameter.
Right.
Now we come to the oral airways. We have three types of airways which can be used for fiber optic: the Ovosapien, Berman, and the Williams airway. The Berman airway can be split apart after the fiber optic is in place, so that we can perform the endotracheal intubation easily. And we have to make sure that the patient, in conscious patients, the oral airway might elicit a gag reflex if the topicalization has not been done properly.
Correct.
Now we come to the face mask. The bronchoscopic face mask may be able to deliver oxygen with a bronchoscopic adapter attached to it. This is a specialized mask and it has a port for bronchoscopy.
Yeah.
Healthy patients generally do not require oxygen administration. However, supplementation can be useful to in patients with decreased reserve capacities or functional residual capacities. For
Like?
example, obese patients
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
COPD patients,
Pregnant females.
etc. Pregnant females.
Okay. Megha, are you there? Megha? Megha, are you there? Jasmine?
Sir?
Yeah, Megha, are you there?
Sir?
Yeah, can you tell me the name of the airways
Sir?
which Ankush has described right now? Used for fiber optic, oral fiber optic intubation?
Sir? Sir, I'm not able.
Ankush has just named few airways, oral airways, which are used during orotracheal intubation using a fiber optic bronchoscope. Now the slide is there in front of you.
Sir, can you please repeat, sir? My it's not that audible.
Okay, it's okay. It's fine, no problem. ठीक है अंकुश.
Megha responded or Jasmine responded? The other one will be marked absent. Who responded?
Donon together, ma'am.
Ma'am, I am also here, ma'am.
Both of us are together,
You are
ma'am.
together.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So both of you cannot hear the question.
Okay, fine.
Something wrong with the mic, sir. That is why. Can you please repeat the question, please?
Okay, now the slide is in front of you. Can you please read what are the airways used?
Ovosapien, Berman, and Williams airways,
ठीक
sir.
है, book. Don't forget. Okay, so these are used while using bronchoscope for orotracheal intubation. Okay, difficult airway.
Yes.
Correct.
All of
Yes,
you,
sir.
when
Yes,
you
sir.
go,
Yes, yeah.
I will tell. I want to say something. All of you, when you go to NebOT next, just see all these things. See your fibroscope closely. See all the description has been given by Ankush very nicely, but you have to identify all the things. And the airways and the bronchoscopy mask, they will be all kept in your examination.
Yes.
So you all must, and they are all available in NebOT. Okay. So all of you must see all this equipment.
ठीक है, अंकुश, carry on.
Now we come to the endotracheal tube. Difficulty in advancing the endotracheal tube through the.
Ankush, slide नहीं आ रही.
Sir.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. So difficulty in advancing the endotracheal tube through the vocal cords over a fiber optic is a very common problem during a fiber optic intubation. The endotracheal tube can be placed in a warm saline before the procedure to make it soft and easy to pass through the vocal cords. Apart from that, we have different types of vocal cords which are easier to pass above the fiber optic endoscope. For example, a tapered tip endotracheal tube. This one is a part of the intubating LMA. It's easier to pass over the fiber optic endoscope. And we have the faster flex tip endotracheal tube and a standard endotracheal tube.
Okay, so this tube number A, which is a flexible. Okay, it is wire reinforced. Can you see those coils inside the tube, Lumen? So it is a wire reinforced flexible endotracheal tube. And this one, yeah, this one specially has got silicone tape and it is used with that intubating LMA. So it is easier to pass. You know, this is a very common problem. You have done the, you have put the endoscope through the laryngeal inlet, you can see the crana. But when the time comes when you want to pass the endotracheal tube over the insertion cord of the bronchoscope, you find very difficult. Okay, so we will be answering those questions also. But these tubes will, you know, make the work easy. So these are recommended tubes which can be used especially using with fiber optic bronchoscope.
This tube is easier to bend during oral surgery also. So after a nasal intubation, we can bend this tube backwards for the oral surgery. Then we have an anti-fogging agent which can be used, or we can just touch the tip of the fiber optic to the buccal mucosa to avoid fogging. And lubricating agents like water-based lubricants can be used, and a nasopharyngeal airway can be used to dilate the nares for nasal intubation. This will help us with the nasal patency, and it's a method of applying the lubricating agent or the topical anesthetic. And lastly, we have the video monitor to visualize the airway.
Yeah.
Now comes the technique of oral intubation.
Okay, before that, I will ask Adeep. Adeep, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Adeep, can you tell me the indications for nasotracheal intubation?
Sir, in case of maxillofacial fractures,
Okay, then but this that he wants a nasotracheal tube because he want to work in the vicinity of the cavity.
Oral surgeries.
Yeah, oral surgery. Correct. Or
in case of if there is an inadequate mouth opening.
Yeah, like example.
Like ankylosis of the TM joint.
Very good. Okay, correct. So basically, you mean to say there is restricted mouth opening. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. ठीक है, good. ठीक है. हाँ, चलो आप.
Okay. So the technique of the oral intubation. We will load the endotracheal tube over the fiber optic endoscope and move it up to full length of shaft. Then we place an oral airway if it is required. And before proceeding with the fiber optic intubation, we will suction the oropharynx thoroughly. Now we insert the fiber optic endoscope along midline of the oropharynx and flex the tip around the base of the tongue when posterior oropharynx is uncovered using the plunger. When we see the vocal cords, we will spray the local anesthesia, which is 4% of lignocaine, 1 ml. 1 ml lignocaine of 4% concentration. This can be done by putting an epidural catheter through the working channel. The epidural catheter has to be cut 3 cm from the distal end and fed through the working channel. And a Loyer lock can be connected with a 5 ml syringe of 4% lignocaine, in which there will be 1 ml of lignocaine and 4 ml of air. so that it is sprayed properly in the oropharynx. Now, after there is decreased reactivity of the vocal cords, we advance the fiber optic endoscope through the vocal cords to the level of carina, and then we railroad the endotracheal tube over it. The fiber optic may be withdrawn from the ETT, and the position can be confirmed with the ETCO2 and the breath sounds and the chest rise.
So basically,
this is the epiglottis. Yes, sir. This is the epiglottis.
This oral intubation, you have done the adequate preparation of the patient in terms of you have given a drying agent like glycopyrrolate, you have given some sedation, you have given some anxiolysis, and adequate patient preparation. Then only after you prepare the patient for oral intubation. Okay.
Yes, sir. This is the epiglottis and the larynx.
Which technique will you use for Ankush?
Yes, ma'am.
Ankush, which technique you will use for anesthetizing the tongue here? You have not written.
Ma'am, we will use a topical spray, 10% spray, or we can use cotton pledgets.
You in the exam, you will give one technique and stick to that technique. If the examiner asks what are the other options, you give other options. Okay, this is for all of you. When you are describing the technique, you go for one technique. If you want to go for SEGO, you want to say 10% spray, go for that. But don't say 3 or 4 options. Stick to one option. And Dr. Ajay has already told you that you have to first don't jump onto the technique. First go for the preparation. So in the exam, the answer has to be stepwise and describe one technique. Don't give 3 or 4. I will use this. I can also use this. I can go for blocks. No. Just give one option that you are most comfortable with, or you have seen, or is being practiced at your institution. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So whatever you are whichever technique you are using, as ma'am told, or you are comfortable, I think you must go with that, and you should accept very confidently in exams.
Okay, sir. Now we come to the nasal intubation. Prior to the intubation, we will place the endotracheal tube in warm saline and check for patency of the nostrils. This we can do by various methods, such as keeping a wick of cotton below the nose and assessing which side is more patent, or we can use a clear shiny surface and ask the patient to breathe out. The side which has fogging more is more patent. Then we need to prepare the nasal mucosa, for which we will give the oxymetazoline or a xylometazoline spray. This is a topical vasoconstrictor which will decrease the chances of bleeding and decrease the secretions. For nasal anesthesia, we can use nasopharyngeal airways coated with lignocaine, 1% phenylephrine to provide anesthesia and lubrication. Now the steps of nasal.
ठीक है फिर for this nasopharyngeal anesthesia, so one technique you have told of there's other technique also apart from you putting nasopharyngeal airway, covered with the lignocaine, and you can use pledgets, cotton pledgets soaked in lignocaine can be used. And there are also nasal mucosal atomizer devices available, like for mouth. Nasal MADs are also available. So you have nasal MAD. You can use cotton pledgets soaked in local anesthetic solution. And then you can also have that nasopharyngeal airway along with your lignocaine. And the pledgets can be used with a solution of lignocaine with epinephrine, and we are also using xylometazoline and phenylephrine drops also we are using in our OTs as a vasoconstrictors to reduce the chances of bleeding. Okay.
Okay. So the steps of the nasal intubation: we will load the endotracheal tube.
One more question, Ankush. one more question. What will be the preferred size? You say you can estimate the size, but what size you otherwise use for the nasal intubation compared to oral
For
intubation?
nasal intubation, we use one size smaller to the normal. For example, in females, we prefer a 7 mm internal diameter tube. So through nasal, we will prefer a 6 millimeter internal diameter. And for males, if we prefer a 7.5 mm, for nasal, we will use a 6.5 mm internal diameter endotracheal tube.
Yes, that is one important point. Second point is that sometimes, though it's a crude method that you lubricate, you put your jelly on your little finger and dilate, as well as assessment of the size, as well as lubrication of nasal cavity is done using your little finger. That is also described, though it may not be there in the standard textbooks.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
And one more thing I would like to add, that sometimes we encounter a problem in passing the endotracheal tube over the bronchoscope. So for that we can do one thing. We can, whatever size of endotracheal tube, suppose we have chosen a endotracheal tube size of 6 millimeter internal diameter. So you take the nasopharyngeal airway of one size larger. Okay, and you can lubricate it with the lignocaine, and you can insert in the nasal cavity and keep it for some time. So that will help to assess the patency of the nasal cavity, and also use for some dilatation purpose also. So then you may not encounter that problem of railroading the endotracheal tube over the bronchoscope.
Yes, sir.
Are you describing, have you heard of the tube first or the scope first thing?
Yeah.
Which technique
We
you
are
are
coming there.
describing?
Ma'am,
Okay, fine.
we'll
That's
discuss
great.
later.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
We will load the endotracheal tube over the fiber optic endoscope and walk beneath the inferior turbinate to avoid trauma. Before the fiber optic is inserted, we will suction the oropharynx and spray local anesthesia on the cords to decrease reactivity before passing it through the larynx. We will advance the fiber optic through the vocal cords to level of carina and then advance the endotracheal tube over it. Inferior turbinate route is preferred as it decreases the incidence of epistaxis and avulsion of the nasal turbinates. Gouging the nasal patency with the nasopharyngeal airway with an outer diameter at least 1 mm larger than the endotracheal tube if nasal passage is insufficient, as told by
I was telling the same thing.
Ajay, sir.
Okay, right.
Yes, sir. Now a cephalad traction should be applied to the endotracheal tube as it is advanced to maximize the odds of endotracheal tube passing inferior to the inferior turbinate.
So Ankush, ma'am was, Dr. Anjali was just telling which technique. Well, there are two techniques used for nasotracheal intubation, basically. Okay, some people railroad the endotracheal tube over the bronchoscope, and then they do the bronchoscopy, and then they pass the endotracheal tube. And some people, first take the endotracheal tube. Of course, the tube should be put in warm saline so that it becomes
easier to pass.
And
Yes.
first they insert the endotracheal tube inside the nasal cavity up to 15-16 millimeters, centimeters, and after that they do the bronchoscopy. So both techniques have got some advantages and disadvantages. The earlier technique in which we are doing bronchoscopy first or endoscopy first, then railroading the endotracheal tube. In that technique, we may encounter difficulty in railroading the endotracheal tube, for which I think we have discussed that option of using the nasopharyngeal airway, one size larger than the endotracheal tube.
Yes.
Okay, and other technique which we have already inserted the endotracheal tube inside the nasal cavity. In that technique, that the problem of that railroading is gone. Now, after inserting the endotracheal tube, now we will do the endoscopy. But in this technique, there may be a problem if you are not gentle enough. You may cause some kind of beforehand and there is some kind of bleeding or something, then it may be difficult for fiber optic bronchoscopy visualization. So both the technique can be used. It's not like that one technique is better than the other. You have to take adequate precautions. You have to be gentle enough, and you can use either of them with precautions. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Would you like to add something to that?
I think you have described it well. The merits and demerits are there, and more commonly we are using the fiberscope first technique. But the student
Yes.
must be aware of both the techniques.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. ठीक है.
Now, some problems that we might face during this procedure is the difficulty with the view. There might be a collapse of the upper airway, which is the most common cause leading to difficulty in visualization of larynx. Some maneuvers can be used to open the upper airway and improve visualization, such as placement of an oral airway, giving a jaw thrust, insertion of a direct or an indirect laryngoscopy blade, addition of a positive airway pressure when using an endoscopy mask, or pulling out the tongue forward with a piece of gauze or Magel's forceps. Apart from this, we might have a difficulty in advancing the endotracheal tube after visualizing the carina. Difficulty may result from the endotracheal tube catching onto the right arytenoid. So we need to turn the tube anti-clockwise by 90 degrees, which may facilitate its passage.
Ankush, slide दिखाओ.
Is it visible, sir?
Yeah, right.
A warm endotracheal tube will pass through the vocal cords more easily and with less trauma. So we need to keep the endotracheal tube in a lukewarm saline before the procedure. A flexible or a taper tip endotracheal tube with the intubating LMA or a Parker Flex endotracheal tube may facilitate the advancement. And the gap between the fiber optic and the larger ETT may allow it to shift off center. In this case, we can use an entry catheter loaded over the fiber optic endoscope within the endotracheal tube to minimize the gap. This is what an entry intubation catheter will look like. And the endotracheal tube should snugly fit over the fiber optic. So an entry intubation catheter will increase the diameter and a larger tube can be used for intubation.
Yeah. Neha, are you there? Neha Dwivedi?
Hello.
Neha Dwivedi, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Neha, can you tell me what are the two common problems encountered while doing this awake fiber optic?
Sorry, sir. Hello.
Can you just describe what are the two common problems encountered while doing fiber optic bronchoscopy? He has just described. Ankush has just described. Can you just name them?
Sorry, sir. I'm not able to hear. Your voice is breaking continuously. Hello.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, I am able to hear you.
Neha, I am asking what are the two common problems which are encountered commonly while doing fiber optic bronchoscopy?
Hello.
Okay, David.
I'm sorry.
Are you making
continuously?
Neha? Are you making this as an excuse for not listening, or is it there is a real problem?
Actually, my connection is continuously cutting out. I don't know why. Ma'am, problem during fiber optic first. Hello, ma'am. Problems are asking, no, sir.
We can hear you. Please, if you can speak a few lines about what Dr. Ajay has asked.
फाइबर ऑप्टिक के टाइम पे मैम देयर विल बी टू कॉम्प्लिकेशन. एक तो मैम ड्यूरिंग फाइबर ऑप्टिक ये होगा ड्यू टू pharyngeal reflex if it is not completely blunt, the visualization problem will be there, and during the passage of the tube we can cause trauma to the patient.
Okay, leave it. Okay, ठीक है. Gokila, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Gokila, should I repeat the question?
What are the two problems associated? That's nothing.
Yeah,
Hello,
yeah,
sir.
two common problems encountered. Yeah,
Either we will have difficulty in visualizing the structures, or we will face
right.
difficulty while for passing the tube. We will face difficulty.
Correct, correct. Bharani, are you there?
Hello.
Yeah, Gokhale, right. Okay. Bharani, Bharani Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bharani, can you just tell me what you will do if you find the view is not good while doing fiber optic bronchoscopy? What measures will you take?
What, sir? Hello.
If your view is not good while doing fiber optic bronchoscopy, can you just tell me what measures will you take?
Yes, sir. We can do the jaw thrust.
Okay.
We can use that direct laryngoscopy to lift the epiglottis.
Okay, right.
That we can do.
Good. And okay,
And
okay, right. And
okay.
yeah, okay, thank you. And then Deepati. Deepati is there?
Hello.
Yeah, Deepati, can you
Hello.
tell
Yes,
me?
sir.
What will you do if you find difficult to railroad the endotracheal tube while doing the bronchoscopy? If you want to railroad, you're not able to railroad. So what problems will be there and what can you do?
Sir, in facing difficulty advancing the endotracheal tube, we'll be doing some measures like we'll turning the ET tube 90 degrees counterclockwise to facilitate the passage,
Correct.
and we warm the ET tube. That will smoothen the passage to the vocal cord, and it will cause less trauma and move more easily to the passage. And if we use a tapered and a flexible ET tube for the intubation, we'll use different ET tubes like flexible or the Parker flex tube, tip tube.
Correct. So, take this. Thank you. Ira, are you there? Ira, are you there? Ira?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yeah, Ira, are you there? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, sir. Hello.
Am I audible?
Yes, both of you. We can hear both of you.
Ira, I will ask you one question. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ira, now we were discussing about awake fiber optic intubation. So can you tell me some other techniques which we can use while the patient is awake for securing the airway apart from fiber optic?
Apart from fiber optic, when the patient is awake,
Yeah, any other technique to use to secure the airway? अगर आपके पास ब्रोंकोस्कोप नहीं है, एग्जाम में पूछा जाए कि आपके पास ब्रोंकोस्कोप नहीं है, तो आप अवेक पेशेंट को एयरवे सिक्योर और किस तरीके से कर सकते हैं? You know the answer? And anyone else who want to say?
We can use an LMA, intubating LMA.
Good. और कुछ? Intubating LMA you can use, yeah, if the mouth opening is adequate enough. Yeah, for that mouth opening should be there. What?
in an awake patient, how can we put an LMA?
Yeah, we can put, that's what we have been discussing. You have to give good airway anesthesia. And different techniques have been described, like you can do nebulization with 4 ml of 4% lignocaine. You can go for gargles. You can give block, pharyngeal nerve block for gag reflex. Okay, and you can use superior laryngeal nerve block also. Okay, for hypopharynx anesthesia. So if you are doing all this in combinations in correct doses and keeping in mind the toxic levels, then of course why can't you can give a very good anesthesia. Any other technique?
Other options other than the intubating LMA, can you use other if the mouth opening is there, can you use anything else other than intubating LMA, other LMAs?
Ma'am, hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Bolo.
Ma'am, I'm Naresh. We can use oropharyngeal. We can use oropharyngeal airway
to secure the.
How will you intubate? How will you intubate using oropharyngeal airway? It's not possible to intubate. We are talking about intubation using supraglottic devices. One option they said is intubating LMA. Any other option that you can give us?
Ma'am, we can use IGL.
Yes, IGL is commonly, it is available in our chart and it is easily used. It will give you the ventilation very quickly, and then you can intubate using the same device, either using fibroscope or without fibroscope. Ideal is to use fibroscope with supraglottic device as well. Next question is
yes, ma'am.
The other question is, if the mouth opening is not available, and as Ajay, it is in addition to Ajay's question, if the mouth opening is not available, fibroscope is not available, what are your options?
Right.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. This is Yalini. We can do blind nasal intubation.
Yes, very good.
Without
Blind nasal.
fiber optic.
Blind nasal intubation. Okay. Then. Okay, good. If you want to go for awake technique, so various apart from fiber optic bronchoscope, one thing is blind nasal intubation can be done if the mouth opening is not adequate. And if the mouth opening is adequate, then you can go for direct laryngoscopy. You can do direct laryngoscopy and intubation. You can go for intubating LMA. And nowadays, you must speak about video laryngoscope. Okay, it is getting very popularity because you don't need the expertise of using the fiber optic bronchoscope. Video laryngoscope, if you give good airway anesthesia, you can use video laryngoscope in an awake patient also. And if the examiner asks you more, they keep on saying or batao, then last you can say you can go for awake tracheostomy also. So this question will be surely asked in exam. What are the other techniques apart from fiber optic bronchoscope which can be used to secure the airway? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Lalit, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Lalit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, actually, now nebulization is there, gargle is there, flagellates are there, and you have got some infiltration block like supinangular block, and
yes, sir.
So, don't you think that if you are using all of them, the patient may get allotoxicity? Getting my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got your point.
If you in exam you say कि मैं nebulize भी कराऊंगा, मैं gargle भी कराऊंगा, मैं block भी लगा दूंगा, मैं flagellates भी डालूंगा, and जो भी spray भी कर दूंगा, जो भी techniques है, you describe everything. So don't you think the patient can develop last? That is local anesthetic systemic toxicity.
Yes, sir. If during the glossopharyngeal block or superior during the nerve block, if we inject the local anesthetic inside the vessel, then the patient can go in the LA toxicity.
Okay, that is one aspect. But we are taking all precautions. We are aspirating before giving.
Sir.
Okay, we are taking all precautions. So, do you think, and during infiltration, how much volume we are using? See, during superior laryngeal nerve block, we are 2 ml we are giving, or
Yes,
1 to
sir.
2 ml or 1 to 2%. Do you think it can cause complication? And most of the blocks we are using at topical. Okay.
Sir, there are very less chances of toxicity. Sir.
No, I don't agree. Arushi, are you there? Hello, Arushi.
Yes, sir.
Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Did you get my question? Now, one of your colleague is saying that there is very less chance of local anesthetic toxicity if you are using all the kind of techniques like nebulization, gargles, and infiltration, SLN block, recurrent block. So, do you think there is of LA toxicity?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let me put it very straightforward. What is the maximum dose of, we are using lignocaine here. Okay. What is the maximum upper limit of lignocaine can be used for topical anesthesia?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I'm Rajeshwari, sir. It's
Rajeshwari.
8.2 mg per kg.
8.2 mg per kg. Okay, agreed. Okay, so see, there is different literature telling different things. In some books, it is written up to 9 milligram kg of ideal body weight. Some books 8.2, and in some books it is also written not more than 4.5 milligram per kg. Okay.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
the thing is that yeah. Anyone want to say something?
Epinephrine and without epinephrine, sir, like we discussed yesterday.
Yeah.
So with epinephrine, we have up to 8 to 8.5 mg per kg, and without
But
epinephrine,
Ankush,
up to
listen.
5 mg per kg. Yes, sir.
That is true. But epinephrine, with epinephrine, we are using only for what? We are using for that nasopharyngeal anesthesia. That's
Yes,
all.
sir.
That epinephrine we use there, not anywhere else.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if we are using wait, yeah, Rajeshwari, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So see, what I mean to say, see, the most important thing is here we have to make sure that what is the upper limit of local anesthetic can be used here, and now to be practical you have to calculate what techniques of topicalization you are using here. You have to write them. Suppose you are going for nebulization, can you tell me how much we are using for nebulization?
4% lignocaine, sir. 5
4%.
ml of 4% lignocaine.
Yeah. Most of the books say 4 ml of 4%. So that comes to how many milligram?
Around 120.
What around? It is exactly what around?
Sorry. Sir, it's around 80, sir.
No, 4%. 4% means 1 contains 40 milligram. So 4 ml will contain
160.
I think 160, sir.
Yeah, so it is not approximately, this is exactly. So like that, you have to, first calculate the upper limit. See, now if Rajeshwari is telling 8.2 milligram per kg, so according to the ideal body weight, you first calculate the upper limit in milligrams of the local anesthetic. You have to calculate that. Then what all techniques you will be using to topicalize the airway, that you have to keep in mind. Suppose you are using nebulization with 4 ml 4%. Then second thing, you are going for your gargles with 4% viscous. Then you see how many ml are using there. Then suppose you are going for recurrent laryngeal block also by transtrachal block. Then you have to use that, and you have used nasal plagets. So now you write down all the amount in ml and then convert it into your milligram and add them all. Okay. And now then compare with the upper limit. Which you have calculated. Suppose you have calculated in a 60 kg patient, from 8 milligram per kg, it will come to around 480 milligram.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now you should not cross the limit of 480 milligram of total dose to prevent the local anesthetic systemic toxicity. You're getting my point or not?
Yes, sir.
This question will be asked in exams for sure.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Sir, shouldn't we take into account the method of administration of drug? Matlab, in case we are giving it topically, the absorption will be less.
Yes.
So shouldn't
See,
we take that into account?
Hemlata, suno. Dekho, the thing is that usually when we use infiltrative anesthesia, when we infiltrate, okay, so we say the upper limit is 3 milligram per kg, है ना, 3 to 5 बोलते हैं कई books में, है ना, up to 3. So that infiltration, the absorption will be more. Agreed? Now here, what we are doing, we are not infiltrating. In most of the times, we are going for topical. Suppose we are going for nebulization, 4 ml, 4%. So do you think the amount of drug absorbed through the mucosa will be equivalent to the amount of drug absorbed when we are infiltrating?
No, sir.
No. So if you do the serum concentration, suppose you have done the nebulization of the patient with 4 ml, 4%. Now if you see, you take the blood sample, okay, after nebulization, it will be less as compared if you go for kind of other technique of infiltration, the serum concentrations. So the serum concentration will be less when you use topical anesthesia. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's why the limit has been exceeded. In some books even says up to 10 milligram per kg, because see, if you do the gargle, suppose in the gargles, थोड़ा सा patient क्या करेगा, swallow करेगा, ठीक है, उसको बाद में spit करेगा. So the exact amount you don't know. Of course, it will be less. Whatever. If I give 4 ml of 4% viscous, so it is not the 160 milligram I have to calculate. It will be less than that because something will be swallowed, something will be spit out. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you are going for spray, suppose you are going for spray with 10%. So 10% spray करते हैं, कुछ something will go into air only.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so everything will not be absorbed to the mucosa. So that's why the upper limit for topical anesthesia has been increased to 9 milligram per kg. Okay. Most of the cases, what we are practicing, what I have practiced basically, I give a good pre-medication 1 hour before with the intramuscular glycopyrrolate that acts a wonderful drying agent, and then I go for nebulization with 4 ml 4%. That I do in the pre-op, and after taking the patient inside the OT, I connect the monitors and I give some midazolam and fentanyl. And after that, I go for that Plegex and transtracheal block. That's all. That's acts wonder. There is no need to add anything. I have never given suprapharyngeal nerve block. Okay, and I also don't give this glossopharyngeal nerve block. I will go for gargles for sometimes. So that will give a wonderful airway anesthesia. And nowadays, I don't know, but I have not seen people giving suprapharyngeal nerve very frequently nowadays, because with other techniques you get very good results.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, so that is one more question which will be asked to you, that you are using different types of topical anesthesia, infiltrative anesthesia. So you have to calculate the toxic dose to prevent the complications. Okay. Okay. Anything else, ma'am? Would you like to add something to that?
Yes, you covered most of it. I will just say that you have to take care of. We have already covered in local anesthetic toxicity. You identify your high risk population.
Yes.
And the other thing is the intralipid should be available whenever we are practicing local anesthetics. Use of local anesthetic. So these two things can be added.
Right. And one more thing I want to say, see, but the patient who are having liver disease, because this LA is metabolized by liver. So, it is not mandatory that you say 9 milligram per kg. If the patient is having cardiac disease or liver disease, you have to automatically, bring down your upper limits. So you have to see the patient clinically also for deciding these limits. Okay. Anything else you want to ask?
Any other queries that the audience has?
This is an important topic.
Is the fiber optic endoscope?
Yeah.
Is the fiber optic endoscope available in the NEB OTs, ma'am?
Yes, of course, it is available.
Ma'am, because I also haven't seen a fiber optic intubation till now.
This COVID time, it may not be, they may not be using it that frequently, but in plastic theater, in neurosurgery, in NEB, it is being used very, very commonly. In Safdarjung hospital, awake into where onco anesthesia is being given at second floor, thyroid surgery. At Safdarjung, if you say I've not seen a fiber optic, you are the culprit. You are going to be the culprit. So you will get a chance. I think
they're not posted in the OTs only. That's why.
Maybe it is because of the COVID, the fiber optic is not being used in.
Ma'am, I think they should also know use to kar liya uska. You should know how to clean it also. That is also one of the examiner will ask you this question also, how to clean it. So you must know, and in exam as a theory question also you can get how to disinfect or sterilize the bronchoscope. Okay. Anybody knows how to clean it?
No, sir.
I think Ankush will be. Ankush, have you read it? This part?
No, ma'am.
I have no expectations from other audience. Maybe Ankush could have read it in depth. This is also important. You should know how to take care of your equipment.
Very important. Yes, because it can act as a source of infection. If you don't disinfect or sterilize it properly, it will act as a source of infection because the working channel, it can have, that impingement of secretions and the blood may clot there. So if you use without proper sterilization in the next patient, you may have you may transmit infections.
Ma'am, maybe ethylene oxide can be used for sterilization or plasma.
So, matlab, as soon as after you, matlab, Ankush, you mean to say use करने के बाद direct ETO कर देंगे?
नहीं sir. But like cleaning it with a sterile gauze.
Right. See,
after that.
Just after using, you have to use a tap water just to clean the outer. You can use a gauze piece with the mild detergent or soap. You can clean the external surface. After that, you have two techniques basically. If you want to go for liquid sterilization or you want to go for gas sterilization. Okay. In the liquid sterilization, we commonly use 2% glutaraldehyde, that is Sidex. Okay, so we can along with the insertion cord, we can dip the insertion cord a portion of that bronchoscope for 15 to 20 minutes in the 2% glutaraldehyde Sidex, and after taking it out, again you have to clean it with the running water, and you can use oxygen or you can take some sterile water to suction the working channel. Okay, after putting it in Sidex. So this is the method of liquid sterilization, and for gas sterilization, as you mentioned, ETO. Okay. You can go for ethylene oxide.
Yeah, even plasma can be done. ETO, plasma, both are the valid options.
Even plasma is also there, correct?
Yeah. You can also see the use of fiber scope in ICU. Have you seen? You say you are not posted in OT. Have you seen in ICU?
Yes, ma'am.
Bronchoscopy is one. Bronchoscopy is one thing. Other ICU procedure that you with fiber scope. One is bronchoscopy.
For mucus plugs, we can. For bronchoscopy, we can do the.
Yes, that is bronchoscopy. Any other use in ICU?
For percutaneous
For percutaneous tracheostomy, we are using. You can use the. You must have seen this procedure being done in one of the ICUs.
Correct.
Any other question?
I think they have to see the procedure thoroughly and read it, because
it is a it is a must for all of you. Must
Yes,
for all of you.
you are going to get a difficult airway case in exam, और फिर सारा वाइवा फाइबर ऑप्टिक पे ही होना है basically. Preparation and about the equipment. That's all.
I have given some YouTube links with the slides for links to the videos of fiber optic on YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of videos are available, and I think all of you must see these videos.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, should we wind up now?
Yes, very nicely presented by Ankush and very well moderated by Dr. Ajay. It was a really nice interactive and it very knowledgeable. It has added to our knowledge. I am sure students would have also been benefited, those who are attentive.
And if anyone has doubt, they can call me personally when they're reading. Okay, I can help them in clear the doubts also. Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.